Good morning and welcome to the 2021 Arizona Maternal and Infant Mortality Summit. My name is Luna Bellucci and I serve as the Deputy Bureau Chief for the Bureau of Women's and Children's Health at ADHS. I'm filling in today for our Bureau Chief, Patricia Tarango, who is unfortunately not able to join us for the summit. We are pleased that so many of you have opted to participate in this summit, with over 500 people registered from around the state. Thank you for joining us today. The mission of the Bureau of Women's and Children's Health is to strengthen the family and the community by promoting and improving the health and safety of women and children. We would all agree that one mother or infant lost is one too many. I find it very encouraging to know that so many partners and stakeholders participating in this summit are here to collectively contribute to building an environment where women, infant, and families can thrive and improve maternal and infant health outcomes in Arizona. Understanding the connections between a mother's health and that of her newborn is crucial for addressing maternal and infant mortality and morbidity. The majority of maternal and infant deaths occur during pregnancy, childbirth, or the immediate postpartum period, most of which are preventable. Ensuring that mothers and babies receive timely, high-quality care during these critical periods is essential. Over the past year, our team at the Bureau of Women's and Children's Health has been trying to make a conscious decision to integrate our women and infant health programming. Oftentimes, we find ourselves trying to tackle the same problems or address the same populations across multiple programs. This summit is just one of the efforts we are making to integrate and align maternal and infant health programs to reduce maternal and infant mortality and reduce the gap of disparities that exist in our state. Community stakeholders, along with the Bureau of Women's and Children's Health, are excited to offer this summit as an opportunity to learn and grow together. Next slide, please. At this time, I would like to pass along the word to Lynn Lane, the Bureau's Tribal Maternal Health Innovation Program Manager, who will share a call for acknowledgement and honor. Thank you, Lynn.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today, we are going to do a call for acknowledgement and honor. An acknowledgement is simply a powerful way of showing respect. It is a step towards connecting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history, culture, and language. It is a move towards inviting and honoring the truth. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort by acknowledging what has been buried by honoring the truth. Next slide, please. A call for acknowledgement and honor. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Let us take a moment to acknowledge the ancestral homelands of the tribes of Arizona. Today, I'm speaking to you from the Phoenix area and would like to recognize the A'atem and Pipash people who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present. We are grateful and appreciative to those whose territories we reside and work on today. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we'd like to pass it over to Felicia Ruiz. Felicia Ruiz is an Indigenous food activist, medicine maker, and natural food chef in curandera, which is a Mexican traditional healer. Educating and supporting others to reclaiming the kitchen healer approach to health and Indigenous wisdom and whole food cooking. Her wellness background spans over 25 years in which she has the opportunity to work with grassroots activists, tribal leaders, top wellness resorts, and many others. Please welcome Felicia Cocotzin Ruiz of Kitchen Curandera, who will be providing our opening blessing.
Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, everyone. Like Lynn said, I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona. I am Chicana and Tewa. My family is all from northern New Mexico. Kuali Tonali, Sangaritamu, good morning. I'm waiting for, it sounds like a garbage truck to move by just so we can actually have a very peaceful blessing. That's something that I'm used to, living in the city and offering blessings. Doing it virtually is for the opportunity for you to get grounded before you begin your summit. And this is such an important summit. It's something that I hold very deeply within my heart, working with mothers and postpartum. And so my offering for you today is to acknowledge all of the 4 directions. And actually in my tradition, I'm working with the Mexica tradition. We also acknowledge the direction above and the direction below and the direction within. I want to acknowledge that all cultures, all traditional cultures, all indigenous cultures around the world who also pray like this and have ritual like this, their directions might be different. And so I honor you in whatever directions you are. I will be sharing the way that I was taught from my elders. And so I invite you in this moment to just hold space for yourself, for being here today and to participate in something so important. And with that, we are going to be starting with the direction of the east, which is fire. To me, fire represents passion and hope, the sun coming up every morning. It's the opportunity to ignite your passions, ignite your creativity, to harness all of that energy that you may need when you just feel like you need a little nudge to go the direction that you really need to be going, to find your purpose. We then move to the direction of the west, which is water. To me, that is symbolic of our summit for today, because that is the direction of women. That's the direction of emotions. And to me, water is one of my favorite elements to work with. I use it to bless people. And even though we are working virtually, just imagine this water touching your skin, anointing your skin, blessing your skin. And when you feel like you need a reminder to go with the flow, call on the medicine of the water. We then move to the direction of the south, which is earth, all of our plant medicines, everything that reminds us to stay grounded, to get our footing and our foundation when we need it most. Sometimes we go throughout our day and we feel like we're a little bit up here, and it's just a remembrance to go down and to get grounded. We turn to the direction of the north. That's the direction of our ancestors, our elders, wisdom. It's the direction of air. And so I invite you to just close your eyes in this moment and feel the sacred smoke blessing over your body, preparing you for a day of learning, understanding, and compassion. We then turn to the direction of the sky, Tata Dios, the cosmic universe, the Milky Way. And we just say thank you for everything that you teach us that is in that dream state, all of our imagination. Then we turn to the direction of the earth, Tonantzin, Mother Earth. Thank you for nurturing us. Thank you for being with us here for the summit. Thank you for allowing us to learn as much as we can to help others, to be there and to nurture one another. And lastly, we turn to ourselves, where all of the directions converge. And I invite you to put your hand on your heart. That's Huitzilipochtli, because that is where everything converges and we acknowledge all of the directions. Enjoy the rest of your summit. Yochtin no me kayotzin to all my relations.
Thank you so much, Lynn and Felicia, for the beautiful opening and acknowledgement. This summit was built around what we know about maternal mortality and morbidity. Using the information that we released in our latest report this past December, it is also informed by the most recent findings of the Perinatal Periods of Risk Analysis for Arizona, or PPOR for short. PPOR is a comprehensive approach designed to help communities use data to reduce infant mortality. PPOR brings community stakeholders together to build consensus and partnership based on local data. The department received technical assistance from the National Organization of Urban Maternal and Child Health Leaders, also known as CityMatch, based at the University of Nebraska to conduct this analysis. We are grateful for their guidance and assistance. Our objectives for the next 2 days include having discussions on prevalent and associated risk factors and barriers leading to maternal and infant mortality, specifically those risk factors found in the PPOR, opportunities to reduce preventable maternal and infant mortality, strategies from which Arizona can achieve health equity for populations experiencing disparities in maternal and infant health, particularly African American and Native American populations, as well as a facilitated training, moving beyond labels to deliver the best care for pregnant people, newborns, and their families. To discover how you can help reduce health-related stigma and bias towards all moms and babies so they can get the support and care that they need. Through these objectives, we are going to be focusing on the 4 main risks that the PPOR analysis demonstrates. Issues related to access to care, preconception and interconception health, safe sleep, and social determinants of health. Next slide, please. Here's a brief glance at our agenda for today and tomorrow. Understanding the connections between a mother's health and that of her newborn is crucial for addressing maternal and infant mortality and morbidity. Today, we will be focusing on sharing the findings from PPOR analysis and then begin to unpack what that means by discussing access to maternal and infant health care in Arizona, the importance of preconception and interconception health on maternal and infant health outcomes, and the impacts of social determinants of health on Arizona families. We hope you will join us at lunchtime for a self-care session hosted by Felicia Cocotzin Ruiz. And tomorrow we will hear from a panel of community experts who are going to put together to highlight several programs that have been successful in improving maternal and infant health in their communities. Lastly, we do hope that you will stick around to participate in the March of Dimes Moving Beyond Labels training. If you participated in the Maternal Mortality Summit in 2020, you may have participated in the very first March of Dimes training, Breaking Through Bias in Maternal Health Care. This year, we are bringing the part 2 and hope you find it valuable. Since we are not covering behavioral health during other parts of the summit, this training is going to focus on reducing bias towards women with mental health and/or substance use disorders, which is emerging as a high risk among women and families in our state. I have to acknowledge that each of the topics that we will be presenting on deserve much more time than we will be able to give them over the course of the next 2 days. For that reason, we are setting up a parking lot of topics and questions that we will not have time to fully address. We will monitor the parking lot and do our best to address each of the items during or after the summit. Next slide, please. Before moving into our first session, I would like to provide some background information on the Bureau of Women's and Children's Health at the Arizona Department of Health Services. In 2020, BWCH went through an extensive process to complete a Title V needs assessment to inform our 2021 through 2025 statewide maternal and child health priorities. I am pleased to share with you the new maternal and child health priorities shown on this slide. Arizona has 7 new priorities that have 2 anchors. One in addressing equity, and the second in family engagement. For the purpose of today's summit, I will highlight the maternal and infant health priorities and programming. The following slides summarize what we learned through the Title V needs assessment and provides a quick glance at programming in Arizona. Next slide, please. When we look at women's health in Arizona, a few notable things to point out are about 72% of Arizona women receive their annual Well Women visit. A little over 72% of women receive early prenatal care or care in the first trimester, and this percentage is less in rural areas. This rate has been consistently declining every year since 2015, with an overall percent decrease of 3.5%. When we look at severe maternal morbidity rates, or rates of severe and unexpected outcomes of labor and delivery, Indigenous women experience severe complications 3.6 times as much as white non-Hispanic women, and Black and African American was about 2 times the rate of white non-Hispanic women. The pregnancy-related maternal mortality ratio in Arizona in 2016 to 2017 was 18.3 per 100,000 live births. And again, Indigenous mothers experienced the highest maternal mortality rates in our state. According to our latest needs assessment, the greatest service needs and barriers for women are the following. When it comes to services like chronic disease management and dental services, lack of childcare was the greatest barrier to receiving this care. For other services like breastfeeding education, counseling, or stress management, and dietitian nutrition services, lack of health insurance or inability to afford were the greatest barriers. Next slide, please. Given these findings, we worked with a large interdisciplinary team to identify priorities related to each of our Title V populations. The priorities identified for women for the next 4 years are to reduce and eliminate barriers to ensure equitable and optimal health for women, reduce disparities in infant maternal morbidity and mortality. Next slide, please. And here are just a few of the programs that BWCH has specifically aimed at achieving those priority statements. While all of these programs have different focuses, they are integral at helping us to improve maternal health outcomes in Arizona. Next slide. When it comes to infant health status, in 2019, about 7.4 of deliveries were low birth weight. African American families experienced the highest percentage of both low birth weight deliveries and preterm births, 3.2% of preterm births compared to around 9% at the state overall. Arizona received a C+ in the 2020 March of Dimes report, citing that the preterm birth rate among Black women is 37% higher than the rate among all other women. The infant mortality rate between 2015 and 2019 was 5.4 per 1,000 live births, which is lower than the national rate of 5.8. We do see disparities in infant mortality with African American families experiencing a rate that is 3.3 times higher than white non-Hispanic, and Indigenous families experiencing a rate that is 2.7 times higher. We also see that rural communities have a higher infant mortality rate. When it comes to service needs and barriers, our latest needs assessment showed that the biggest barrier is seeking specialist care, genetic counseling, child care, and home baby proofing was lack of health insurance. We also saw that lack of child care was a barrier for parents trying to get other children into their baby well visits. Next slide. Again, working with the steering committee for the Title V needs assessment, the priority for infant health in 2021 through 2025 is to promote equitable and optimal care and protective factors for mothers and infants before, during, and after pregnancy. Next slide. Here are just some of the BWCH programs that will help move the infant health priority forward. Next slide, please. Of course, we understand that in order to truly move the needle on maternal and infant health, we have to focus on creating environments where people can thrive across the entire life course. For that reason, BWCH is focused on aligning and integrating services and priorities from the perinatal period through infancy, childhood, and adolescence into adulthood. I want to thank everyone who was part of the Title V needs assessment process, and to all internal and external stakeholders that work diligently to support and achieve these priorities through the work that you do. Thank you for your attention, and now I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Martin Celaya, Chief of the Office of Assessment and Evaluation at the Bureau of Women's and Children's Health, who is going to kick off our first session today, Perinatal Periods of Risk in Arizona. Thank you, Martin.